Hi everybody, I'm here. I'm going to cook some bacon wrapped asparagus and make some scrambled eggs. This is what Sophie's going to have for dinner. I'm allergic to eggs, so I'm not able to eat scrambled eggs, but I am going to eat a couple pieces of this bacon wrapped asparagus. I don't usually eat bacon every day. I only eat bacon maybe once a week because pork is kind of an inflammatory food, and when you have an autoimmune disease, there's always the chance that your body can have a response to pork. So I really maybe only have it, like I said, once a week, and then there are some weeks when I don't have it at all. So I want to start first with giving you some idea on bacon and what you want to make sure you're avoiding when it comes to bacon. The first things first, when it comes to bacon, if you're going to bring bacon in, you have to have the right bacon. You're going to end up hurting yourself if you're not using the right bacon. And there are very few places that sell this type of bacon, although it has increased recently. And I guess we're just kind of lucky because I started suggesting it, so it started to increase. But Fresh Thyme or Whole Foods will always sell this bacon. This is Peterson's, so I'm going to put this close. And it even says Whole 30 approved, which again, we're not like doing it for that reason. But this is uncured, no sugar added. So see where it says no sugar added? They don't all say no sugar added. You've got to get the one that says no sugar added, because I'm telling you, they add a lot of sugar to this. So you really have to be cautious of this. So uncured, no sugar added. That's what's most important when you're picking the bacon. And we really don't have to feel that bad about the bacon, especially if we're doing a ketogenic diet, because it's 30 calories for one slice. It's 2 grams of fat. Yes, there's some sodium in there, but it's really not that big of a deal. So you just don't have to fear it that much, unless, of course, you have an autoimmune disease, and pork could potentially be an inflammatory food for you. So that would be something you just want to be cautious of. If you ever eat pork and you get a stomach ache pretty close to after you eat it, then that means that you're probably having an immune response to it. So Peterson's is the brand of the bacon. Fresh Thyme, Whole Foods. Dierberg's has it on occasion, and I've been told that Walmart has it on occasion. However, I haven't seen it at Target, so I don't know. Maybe they do, but look for it. There's another brand called Applegate, and so that would be the other one that you'd be looking for, Peterson's or Applegate. So what I have is just a big bundle. I personally like the bigger spears of asparagus when I do this. I'm not really a big fan of these little ones, but sometimes that's all you can find, so you kind of get what you can get. So in this situation, I'm probably going to bacon wrap like 3 or 4 pieces at one time, but I want to kind of give you the protocol of what you do going up to that point. So the first thing is I've already rinsed this. So I'm going to take this and see this end part of asparagus. I don't know if you all know this. I mean, there was a point in my life where I didn't know this. I think Ina Garden, the Barefoot Contessa, taught me this, because I sure as heck didn't eat asparagus when I was growing up. We had hamburger, fried potatoes, and like green beans or cucumber that came out of our garden, or we had fried chicken or something like that. So we didn't eat asparagus. That was for fancy people in my day when I was growing up. So what I'm going to do is I leave the rubber band on here. So I do that because it kind of gives me a guide of where I want to cut. I just kind of cut right at that rubber band because this is a really rough part. I am going to take one out of here, and what I'll do is I'll kind of show you. Watch as I bend this. See where it breaks? This is very chewy and not good. So you don't want to eat this part of it. So you want to try to avoid that. So you could sit here, like my grandma used to do with string beans, and just sit there and tear it, but I don't think you need to do that. I would just simply take it and just go down it and just get it all cut like this. And just get it cut off, so that's going to make it easy. It's already kind of rubber band, and all I need to do is just throw this stuff away. Now, I have watched, I'm a big fan of the Barefoot Contessa, Ina Garden on Food Network. I have watched her take, and I'm going to get it out of my drawer here, a vegetable peeler. And I think, to me, she's always done that more when she's had a larger piece of asparagus. And I've watched her kind of take the ends so that they would not be quite as rough. And I've watched her go, kind of against, the edges like this, and just to kind of take what would, I guess, seem like the rough parts off. When it's this thin, I think if you do that, it just becomes nothing. So I don't suggest doing that. However, if you really get a thick stalk on the asparagus, you may want to peel it like that, because it may actually be beneficial. Okay, so I've got my asparagus, and so I've got that cut up. So my next thing that I'm going to do, hold on one second. So my next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my asparagus ready to go into the pan. And I have used unbleached parchment paper. That's what I start with because it just helps with the mess of the pan. And then I have avocado oil. I know there's fat in the bacon, but I don't want to just put dry asparagus with the bacon. Even though the fat will end up moisturizing the bacon, I still want a little bit of flavor. So what I do is I take my pan with my parchment paper in it. You don't have to have the parchment paper. I just do the parchment paper, like I said, because it makes less of a mess than at the end. I don't have to like scrub and scrape on the pan. I can, you know, really just clean it up a lot easier. So I will take my asparagus and just drizzle it across. Forgot that I hadn't taken my rings off, so that would make those rings pretty messy. So we'll throw these in the drawer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use avocado oil because I'm going to cook this at 375. And anytime I'm going to cook over 325, I usually use avocado oil over olive oil. And all I'm going to do is kind of watch me. Don't fear this. I'm just going to drizzle all the way across this. And this is a pretty light drizzle. It's not pouring all over the place. And then what I'm doing, you think about the flavors that you like. There's no right or wrong. I've got my sea salt. My Celtic sea salt that's mineralized. I'm going to salt it up pretty good. Then I've got just my standard pepper. I have fancy salt and pepper shakers, but I wanted you all to just see what I was working with here. And then I'm going to use onion powder because I just like that little bit of a flavor of onion, bacon, and then I'm going to make her some scrambled eggs, and I kind of like the flow of all that together. So I'm going to take this onion powder, and I'm just going to kind of dash it on here. Nothing too much, but just enough to where when I bite into that asparagus, it's like I've just added a little bit of a flavor, okay? So before I go any further with the asparagus, I'm going to start my scrambled eggs because I'm in the process. There's no sense in not doing this all together. The eggs that I purchase, people always ask me this question. I get these from Deerberg's, and these are soy-free eggs. So they're you know, they have the whole antibiotic, no hormone added, you know, concept, but I can't have soy because of my autoimmune issue. So this has really helped me that they have these soy-free eggs. So if you have an immune issue, you may consider looking into these particular eggs because that really could benefit you. So I'm going to start my heat right at medium, and I'm going to go ahead and put my avocado oil in my skillet. I just drizzle it across. Now, her dad is coming home from work in 2 hours or an hour or something like that. So I'm going to make enough eggs for all of them so that it's not just, you know, not just I'm making 2 scrambled eggs for Sophie. And like I said, I'm allergic to eggs, so I can't eat them. So I'm going to crack all of these eggs in here. Meanwhile, I have my oven preheated at 375 right now, getting prepared for that bacon and asparagus. And there have been times where John would eat, oh gosh, I think he ate 3 dozen eggs a week. And I would get a big soup pot, and I would crack all 3 dozen of those eggs. And I would cook all 3 dozen of those eggs in that soup pot. So I would get all of his eggs for the week cooked all at one time. And that made such a difference. And they always tasted great. I mean, there was nothing wrong with them because I did that. It was just such an easy way to, you know, get things prepared. So when you've got all of them in here, one thing that's important is you want to go with this and you want to say, okay, I got to get these yolks and I have to break these yolks up. So that's the most important thing if I'm making scrambled eggs. So now that I have each yolk individually broken, I'm just getting it stirred up really good. And then I'm just going to let it simmer on that heat. The key with cooking scrambled eggs, and I'm going to wash my hands real quick. The key with cooking scrambled eggs is you've got to make sure that you don't leave them on the heat for too long, because if you leave them on the heat for too long, they will stick to the bottom of the pan and they'll get dried out. They will not taste good. So we've got those just kind of cooking. So we've got our protein going. We've got this oiled up, rolling it in the salt and the pepper. And this is our avocado oil, the salt and the pepper, and then our little bit of onion powder just to get us a little bit more flavoring. And then what I have here is just a wire cooling rack. Now, if you don't have sheet cake pans and you don't have wire cooling rack, you need to get one. Go out on Amazon right now. Williams-Sonoma sells a really good set, but just go out on Amazon. This is a great thing to own. I make the hot dogs bacon wrapped and I put them on here. I make chicken breasts and I put them on there. I make chicken wings and I put them on there. Everything cooks underneath as well. So it doesn't, it's like it doesn't get as soft and soggy. It kind of stays, you know, sort of like evenly cooked. So I would highly recommend this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is at this point I've got my package of bacon, got my asparagus that's already oiled up and ready to roll, and it's very simple. So again, while my eggs are cooking over there on medium, I'm just taking one strip of bacon, and since these are kind of skinny little strips of asparagus, I'm going to take this and put, this one's kind of too short, I'm going to take this and put 3 of these together, and then I'm going to roll my bacon, and I roll my bacon to where it's not really layering up on top of each other, okay? So I've seen people do it where they cut the bacon strip in half, but I'm using this as a protein source, so I'm okay with having the whole entire strip of bacon, because then I kind of know how much protein I'm getting. And then I'm just going to set that on the wire rack. So I'm going to do a couple of these so you can see them. We've got our 3 pieces of asparagus in here. I don't really think this could be any easier. It's really not complicated at all. You just have to be patient with them. So when they are in the oven, you have to be willing to just kind of let them cook a little bit and then flip them. Like every 5 to 8 minutes, flip them. This is going to take probably 25 minutes to really get them the way that you want them. So, you know, everybody's going to cook them a little bit different. Every oven's going to be a little bit different. So don't worry. There's nothing to stress. You're not going to break anything. Nothing will have gone wrong. They're all going to be totally, you know, totally edible thereafter. So don't worry about it. Just cook them, you know, for as long as they look good. Depending upon how you like bacon, how crispy you like it, you decide, you know, and just kind of go from there. Now, what I'm going to do is show you also with this wire baking sheet how I make bacon. So if I'm, you know, just cooking maybe a sheet cake pan of Brussels sprouts, and I decide that, you know, I'd like to make some strips of bacon because I know Sophie loves bacon, and so I'll just make her a couple strips of bacon. Well, if I have this wire baking rack that's already out, I will go and I will lay strips of bacon across the wire baking rack. And I'll show you that as I finish. So right now I'm just going to lay 2 pieces of bacon. And so what that's going to do is it makes amazing bacon. So if I wanted to make an entire pack of bacon, that's how I would make it. I would put it on that wire rack, and I would lay it flat all the way across the wire rack, and I would take the entire package of bacon and I would make it flat on that wire rack like that. That is, in my opinion, that is the best way to make bacon, because it takes all that excess fat and it drains it underneath there in the cooking sheet, and it makes it nice and crisp. It's so good, and you don't have to like take all the fat off of it, or take all, like, you don't have to, you know, use your blotted or anything like that. Like, it's so much, I feel like it's so much cleaner and so much more effective. So what I've got here is my wire baking sheet, okay? And I'm just going to set it inside this skillet. Got a couple little pieces of bacon. And that's how I'm going to make this. I mean, it's just that's it. That's all I do. Now, I've got these kind of spaced out pretty good. And since I have extra asparagus, because I only had 1 package of bacon, I'm just going to let them lay here and just roast. It's no big deal. They're just going to sit there and roast. Again, remember that this bacon is Peterson's bacon, and also you can get the Applegate Farms version too. So now I've got my scrambled eggs cooking over here. They're cooking on medium. They're starting to solidify a little bit. So all I'm going to do is just keep them moving so that they're not sticking to the bottom of this. And I'll tell you that there is a crucial point with scrambled eggs. And that crucial point is that if things start to get to where they're hardening pretty regularly, you don't want to walk away from the pan. If you walk away from the pan, they're going to end up drying out. All right, so here's my pan. Got some extra asparagus that I'm just going to probably eat on probably tomorrow when I eat my food. Bacon wrapped asparagus, and then just 2 strips of bacon that I'm just making just so that we can add 2 extra strips of bacon. So I'm going to throw that in the oven. I've got the oven at 375. Again, there is no perfect time for it to cook. So, you know, I could tell you maybe that will take 20 minutes. It really just depends on, you know, how you like your bacon. So, you know, what I would suggest doing is making sure that you get it to the doneness that you want, but by all means, make sure that you flip it multiple times. So before I would serve that, what I would do is I will have at least had that on each side twice so that it's cooked that way. Now, I don't know if you can see these eggs, but again, all I did was put 8 eggs in here. And if you wanted to cook an entire dozen of eggs, you could cook an entire dozen of eggs. And what I would do is I would suggest leaving them to some extent just a little bit undercooked. And if you're going to have them for the next 3 days for your meal, you leave them just a little bit undercooked, and then when you go to microwave them the next day, they're perfect. Now would be the perfect time, you know, if you have some good leftover, like that leftover asparagus. If I had some of that leftover asparagus, this would be awesome in here. You know, just throw it inside with these scrambled eggs, chop it up, and just mix it in. So the only thing I'm going to do now is just add some salt and pepper, and then this thing's ready to roll. So scrambled eggs are done, and then the asparagus with the bacon is going to be done, and then that is what Sophie is going to have for dinner. Right, Soph? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I had to show the dogs the other day, but here's Soph. Hi. We're going to have scrambled eggs and bacon for dinner, right?
Yes.
Yes, you like the scrambled eggs? And you like bacon too, don't you?
I'm going to eat the 2 strips of bacon first.
Oh, 2 strips of bacon first. Okay, and then what about asparagus? Do you like asparagus? You like it with the bacon, right? Probably, I'm sure. Okay, so it's just that simple. Nothing too fancy about that. But there's just it's just one way of being able to get, you know, a good quality vegetable source and just kind of make something more creative for your family, for your kids, for yourself, so you don't get sick and get burned out on things. This is what I do with my 5-month nutrition program. I give you a cookbook. I give you recipe cards. I tell you exactly what to eat. I tell you where to buy it from. I tell you how to prepare the food, what to order when you eat out. I tell you what to do when you travel. I tell you any vitamins and minerals that you should be taking. I tell you what you should be drinking. It is very specific, and you meet with me for 5 months. If you would have an interest in getting more information on the 5-month nutrition program, you can contact us at integritytraininggroup.com or 636-299-2208. If you're considering personal training or just really trying to make a lifestyle change, if you need help, you need someone to assist you, we have a location in Clayton, we have a location in Creve Coeur, and then of course our home base in O'Fallon, Missouri. We would love to bring you in for a free personal fitness assessment. There's no charge. Just give us a call. Contact us on Facebook. Take a look at integritytraininggroup.com. Send us an email, 636-299-2208. Thank you for listening, and God bless. Have a wonderful weekend.